What's up, guys, and welcome to Press A Repeatedly. I'm your host, Christopher Gold, and joining me this week is not my usual co-host, but a friend, a guest, a brother, you might say. Not actually my brother, Butch Caramano.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen?
Butch, what brings you on the show this fine, glorious, chilly fall weekend?
Well, apparently Justin couldn't make it home in time from his wedding, so I have to fill in, gladly.
Yeah, no, and for anyone out there who's like, oh, no, Justin is not the one getting married.
No,
weekend.
his cousin was getting married.
Yeah, he's marrying his cousin?
Well, you never know.
You never know with those Tomasellos.
Yeah, certain states, that's allowed in certain states.
Yeah, they had to go all the way up to Massachusetts to get that taken care of. Now, I don't know the law in Massachusetts, but, hey, they're a strange bunch up there. They let a lot of things go.
Yeah, they're strange. We've been up there a couple times.
Yeah, that's true, for our own purposes. But
don't make it sound so weird. It wasn't any human sacrifice or anything going on. Relax.
No, not that you were aware of. So, Butch, you're on the show this week because I wanted to discuss a couple of the bigger upcoming titles that are coming out this month and some that have come out within the past week or so. I've been noticing a lot that a lot of the games that have been coming out lately are just really, really massive in terms of scale and bulk. And because you are the largest and bulkiest person that I know, who better to ask and pick your brain about? But in all seriousness, though, I know you play a lot of games, and you play a lot of games that do take a lot of time, like you invest a lot of hours and a lot of your own personal time in. And I guess it's a good thing for me to just kind of pick your brain and see, is it worth it? Is this amount of game that's being produced in these AAA games, especially as of late, is it worth it?
Yeah, I can definitely see how people, when you have games approaching the 100+ hour mark, what are you really getting out of it at that point?
Right. You look at how much, you're putting in 100 hours of gameplay. Now, are you actually getting quality time in that 100 hours, or is it a lot of fluff and bloat, really just to pad the time out? Because I know a lot of gamers tend to look at a game and say, oh, it takes 100 hours. This must be a great experience. So are developers kind of padding that length in some ways?
Yeah, I mean, in certain situations, I'm sure they are.
So those are that's kind of the track that we're going to be exploring a little bit later in the episode. But in the meantime, Butch, I know it's been a while since you've been on the show. I know you've been playing a lot of games lately, so why don't you go ahead and tell us, what are you playing?
Well, let's see. I just told you before we got on here that you texted me while I was playing Overwatch.
Right.
Halloween event is going on right now, and I've actually been playing the competitive league for ranking and all that stuff.
Nice. So you haven't gone into the new Junkenstein's Revenge or whatever event it is they're having this year?
Oh yeah, I've done that. Yeah, it's the same one they had last year.
Okay.
Yeah, it is fun. They added a couple heroes that you can play in lieu of the other ones, but it's relatively the same thing. But it's once you beat it a couple times, it kind of gets a little repetitive. So,
right. I mean, there's only so many times you can run the same event,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it only takes 15 minutes. But, yeah, I've just been... The skins they released are actually really interesting. They're really nice. My new favorite character, Wrecking Ball, he just got an awesome jack-o'-lantern skin.
Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for anyone out there who doesn't know, Wrecking Ball is pretty much just a hamster in a hamster wheel. And he can talk through a machine. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's actually from the same lunar base that Winston was from. It's
right.
The ape.
Yeah, it's such a silly game.
I know and the wrecking ball. In the lore. The wrecking ball is what he used. He fell from lunar orbit to Earth in that wrecking ball and survived. That's like how he got there, which is ridiculous in its own right. But I like him. He's a fun character.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you're playing competitive now. How good are you in competitive?
Well, I was gold ranked for a while. I was almost platinum ranked, and then you just get you get paired with a couple of people who decided they don't want to play right that day. They feel like throwing or being trolls, and you lose a couple points. And since I was right on the brink, then it just fell even harder.
Yeah, that stinks. But
That is what it is.
Yeah. So, how many hours have you put into Overwatch at this point?
Oh God, this will actually be perfect for the conversation later. I have to have hundreds of hours in it by this point.
Yeah, you just started playing it a year ago about?
Yeah, roughly a year ago, maybe a little bit more. I think it was like summer of last year.
Right.
But I love it.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Like, as long as you're with a good crowd, and for me personally, you have voice chat turned off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, you don't have voice chat turned off, right? Do you tend to have back and forth with your teammates?
If I'm playing competitive, I'll have everything turned on because it helps to be able to communicate with people. Say so-and-so's up here, so-and-so's down there, watch for this. If I'm just playing quick play, I turn everything off. I don't feel like talking to anybody. And I try to, I have a pretty high rating for what the heck's it called? The reputation thing that they made.
Oh, right.
For if you get upvoted or downvoted, if you're like a good player, not even a good player, but like a good teammate, good sportsmanship. I don't try to be mean or anything. I'm well past those years of my life.
Right. Yeah, because, I know Overwatch has, or at least had, a really bad reputation for a really, really toxic community. The way a lot of games tend to have a toxic community individually. So it's nice that they have that reputation system to kind of weed out the good from the bad teammates.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. My friend Bill, he plays with me a good bit, and he has a bit of a mouth on him. He always has whenever we played any games. He has trouble biting his tongue, and it's funny, he plays way more than I do, and he has a way lower reputation rank than I do. So it works. It definitely works.
Well, that's good. Yeah, as long as everything's working fine. But yeah, you got to play nice out there.
Yeah, it's just treat people as you want to be treated. It's really not a hard rule to go by. And I know that's hard when a 10-year-old's trying to tell you what to do. But
a 10-year-old is trying to tell you what to do and where to go and what things need to be shoved up where.
Yeah, right, exactly. They start mouthing off, and it's like, you got to remind yourself like they're kids. I got to just shut up.
Yeah, you got to be like, hey, talk to me when you get to middle school, chump.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, then you can start mouthing off.
Meet me outside in the playground.
Meet me by the monkey bars at 2:00 sharp. Oh man.
I had that. I played and beat Mega Man 11.
Oh, nice. So tell me all about that. I know Justin had played the demo briefly. So how was the full experience?
I personally loved it. If you're a fan of old Mega Man, they did it really well. They just enough of throwback while still being fresh enough to make it worthwhile of a new title.
That's good. Did they introduce any new moves or anything like that to the repertoire?
Yeah, the big thing for this game is what's called the double gear system. Basically, they actually give you a little bit of a background for which the old Mega Man games never did. They give you a little bit of story between Wily and Light, where Wily was creating this thing called the double gear system for robots to basically turn them into superheroes, where Light wanted to give the robots free will. Well, the committee, I know. The committee that they worked with chose Light's idea, and that's why Wily was so, PO'd off of it. And so basically the game starts out, Wily comes back, steals all the robot masters from Light. They're originally his robots. They steal them, and then he installs a double gear system in all of them, so they become super strong, and that's why you have to go take them out. Basically, you're just reverting them back so Light can take them back over.
Gotcha.
And the double gear system, because he says you'll never be able to defeat them without your own double gear system, so you get installed with it. And basically, you have two buttons. One will slow down time, and the other one increases your damage output. But there's like a meter that it's like you're building up heat, and if your meter gets too high, all the systems shut down and you can't use them for a while.
Oh, okay. So that's how they kind of make sure you don't spam one.
Yeah, so you're not just abusing it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So wait a minute. So Mega Man needs to get installed with his own double gear system to be able to compete with Dr. Wily's robots. Doesn't that kind of imply that Dr. Wily was right?
Yeah, but then again, that's what they. Well, I don't want to ruin anything in the game, but basically, yeah, from the beginning, it seems like he was. I made these super powerful robots, and you can't stop them. Oh, great! Well,
he's kind of got a point there. I mean, he initially wanted them to be like super heroic. So the only reason he went evil was because the committee sided with Dr. Light's crazy idea, giving robots free will. Yeah, honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think that Dr. Wily was right all along.
There's actually a really funny thing on, if you ever watch Game Theory, there's an episode of that Light is actually the bad guy and Wily's the good guy. And Mega Man's like evil. It's kind of funny for a fan theory kind of thing.
I can believe that. Yeah, some of the videos on Game Theory, like a lot of them can be a stretch.
Yeah.
But it's always funny,
Yeah,
some of the theories, and some of them do disturbingly make some sense.
Oh yeah, like the one with Majara's mask and Link being dead the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, and he's going through like the five stages of grief, and that's what the whole game's about. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it's the 5 stages of grief, acceptance, death. Like that's it's a very dark game, Majora's
It is.
So I could 100% believe that.
I remember when I first got that as a kid, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" A lot of it just made no sense to me.
Yeah, a lot of it is probably over a lot of kids' heads, but when you go back and like play the game now, it's just like not to switch gears to Majora's Mask.
I know, yeah.
I'm just always in the mood to talk Zelda. It's just like it's you know what? No, we shouldn't.
No, back on task.
Back on topic. Mega Man.
Yeah.
So
Mega Man 11.
Mega Man 11. So you've got it follows, I'm assuming, the same basic template as all the other Mega Man games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you fight the bosses, then you have to go through Wily's castle.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to do that rush. All right. I mean, it sounds really good. How do you like the updated graphics?
They did really well with that. The 2.5D that they tried to go for, it looks really nice. And a lot of people thought it was going to go too far from, everybody kind of wanted, the hardcore fans wanted that 2D, straight up 2D platformer.
Right, like the old like 8-bit like NES style
exactly.
graphics.
But I honestly think it's gorgeous. I think it looks great. It ran perfectly on the Switch, no delay, no lag. It's hard as hell.
It's just like any good Mega Man game.
The platforming in it was very, very challenging. And they did make it so I played it on the normal difficulty. I didn't do the superhero mode. And if it wasn't for the shop system that they implemented, I don't think I would have beat the game. Not as fast as I did, at least. Like, you can go in, you can buy more 1-ups, you can buy E-tanks to have, and you can just max out your supply before every level.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So, what's the currency that you use?
It's, as you kill enemies, there's these little bolts that you can find on the ground, and that's what you use as currency. Because it's almost like you're using scrap parts to build these things.
So you're killing your enemies, you're sorting through their bodies and ripping out chunks of their bodies and exchanging them for abilities that will power you up and make you stronger. That's pretty
exactly.
hard. That's pretty hardcore.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that's in essence what Mega Man does: kill the robot master and suck up their power.
It's badass, man. You think about the Blue Bomber, like he looks very cute and anime and innocent.
And happy.
Yeah, no, he's a ruthless monster, you know?
No, the one game he killed Dr. Wily, didn't he?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, that was a Mega Man 2 or 3, something like that.
I don't know. Wily
I
always
can't remember
comes
which
back,
one
though.
it was. Yeah, I mean, he's not really dead, but...
But yeah, he's a monster. Maybe he is a villain. Maybe Matt Pat was right the whole time.
See, now you're thinking about it.
Oh man, this is gonna be haunting. Me. All right, let's move on. What else? What else have you been playing?
Trying to think. Let's see what the hell else have I been playing. There was a game called Shadows Awakening that I played. It's like an indie title.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Diablo-esque game, but
Okay,
you actually play as a demon. So it's
so
kind
it's
of
kinda
exactly
like
the opposite. But
So is it kind of like that isometric RPG type style? Okay.
yeah. But the cool thing is you first start off as a demon, and you start by possessing your first soul, so you can actually switch in between the demon realm, spirit realm, and like the human world. And you have to constantly just switch back and forth between the two to solve puzzles. You can attack certain enemies in each world that you can't attack in the other. You can affect the worlds. It's pretty cool. It was a pretty interesting game. I want to finish it. I didn't get around to finishing it yet.
Oh, that's cool. When did you pick that up, or how did you find out about that?
I think I picked it up like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. It was, there's this guy I follow on YouTube about Diablo stuff. His name's Riker. And he did a review of it, and it just looked nice and looked fun, so I picked it up. It was a little pricey, though, for $40. I don't know if I'd pay $40 for it again, but then again, I'm not done it, so I can't really say.
Is this the same Riker from Star Trek?
No, not the same. Sadly.
Oh, what a shame. I was gonna say that would be a weird career move, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, sailing on the Enterprise.
I'm gonna go to making Diablo videos on YouTube.
Yeah. Sorry, Captain, but I found my true calling, my true purpose. Well, okay. I mean, you do what's best for you.
I'm not gonna stop you, but whatever.
Just know
you do you.
You do you. Just know that I disagree with this strongly. Duly noted.
But yeah, I think. Is there anything else I've been playing? I'm trying to think now. I played a little bit of Diablo, but not much. Just because the new season started, I just jumped on. And basically didn't do anything in it. I think that's it. So, what have you been playing?
All right. So I tried playing a bit more of The Messenger, and I think I kind of hit a brick wall there.
Okay.
Right at the part where I know there's a twist happening in the gameplay. The game itself is hinting at like, oh man, you're coming up on the big twist. And I'm like, okay, I guess I am. And I've reached the point where, as I described before, like you have to take the scroll to the other end of the island as part of this prophecy where you have to stop this demon army from attacking and destroying the rest of humanity. Well, I've reached that part of the island, and I've got the scroll, and I have to defeat this one last boss. And this last boss that I have to defeat before the twist is just so frustrating. Like, it's not hard because I know exactly what it is I need to do. It's just very difficult in the execution of actually fighting the damn thing because it's in like stages almost.
Oh, okay.
Where it has I mean I don't want to do too many spoilers for it, but like it has separate hands. And I mean video games, like you have a boss that has separate hands, you know, okay, the hands are important, you know, like you have to focus on those. But its movements and its attacks are very slow and very deliberate, and you have to use those attacks to your own advantage. And you can get yourself into like a good vantage point to attack the main boss's body.
Oh,
And
okay.
but the attacks are very slow, very deliberate, and as you do more damage, it starts pulling out new moves that each of these moves takes forever to actually execute and then complete. And sometimes there's nothing you can do with a lot of these attacks. All you can do is just dodge over and over again. And then after grinding away and grinding away, you finally get this thing, this health down to the point where it starts glowing orange, and then eventually it'll glow red and then it'll be dead. But when it starts glowing orange, it moves faster and it starts pulling out these new moves to try to take you out. And those moves go a little bit faster, so you have to be like a little bit quicker and dodgy and all that. And when each of these attacks hit you, they pack a punch. And you only have so many different... You can only get hit like maybe 4 or 5 times before you're dead. And then you have to start the entire thing all over again.
Yeah, that's always rough. Small room for error.
Very small room for error. And it's just so annoying. Like, I want to get through this boss because I want to get to the twist of the game. The game has hyped this up so much, but it's a feeling of like, oh, like I keep beating my head up against a wall trying to like get through this boss and like try to execute everything perfectly, but it's hard. Like just because like I get very far. And just when I think I'm about to break through and actually finish this thing off, I die, and then I have to start all over from the beginning again.
Yeah, I can imagine that's very frustrating.
So I've kind of hit a wall with the messenger. I don't know. I'll give it like a couple more tries, but I don't know if I'm going to keep going. I might have to adjust the difficulty maybe just to be able to get through it. I don't know if that's even an option for me at this point. I haven't even checked, but I'll look into it. But
just don't shoot the messenger, all right?
So I don't know how much more of the game I'm going to be playing at this point. Man, we should end the podcast right then and there.
I know, right?
I don't know if it's going to get any better than that.
Please, for the love of God, find a way to put in some cricket sound effects after that.
Justin, you heard the man.
It needs to be done. If there's no crickets, it's gonna Yeah, it's a bad joke, but it's a bad joke on purpose.
So, I finally I moved on from the messenger, and I picked up the game that I'd wanted to play a couple months back. The same game that Zool gave me shit for not playing right away. I got Chasm because it finally came out on the Switch.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, so I gotta say, this game is a lot of fun. Like Zool had mentioned when he was back on the show a little bit ago, and he had played the game. It's very like Metroidy. The combat style reminds you a lot of Castlevania, where like you hit enemies and you see like numbers pop up out of their bodies for however much damage you're doing. It's a lot of melee type combat. One of the buttons is a dedicated like back dash button, so you can like dodge out of the way of enemy attacks. So it's very, very Castlevania in terms of its combat. You get a seed at the beginning of each save file, so the world that's generated, it's kind of procedurally generated, but in the sense that no two playthroughs of the game are exactly the same. Like the map is just a bit different. It has main rooms that are designated throughout the game as you progress, but in terms of the actual layout of the world, it's different from game to game. And that's pretty interesting just because, I kind of don't know what to expect when you go into each room. I have noticed, though, that there are some rooms that I've gone into that just look and feel like carbon copies of other rooms that I've been to before. And that sounds like it's getting into the realm of Binding of Isaac, because theirs is like seed generated, but it's kind of like just putting different pieces into a different order. Right. So it definitely feels like that. It's kind of like each room almost reminds you of like a Tetris block almost, where like you have different individual like blocks, right, that are different from each other. But after a while, you'll see the same blocks come down. Like you'll recognize, like, oh, this room looks exactly the same as that room, and it's like laid out the same. The enemies might be different, but they're kind of spaced out similarly. From room to room, so there is a little bit of familiarity as you go into some of these rooms. I was actually texting Zool earlier this morning as we were recording this because I was playing a bit of Chasm this morning, and I mentioned how like this is a game where as you're playing it, you're like, oh god, like fuck you, you piece of shit, like you, god damn it, like oh this is such bullshit, like this game drives you nuts,
rage inducing. But
at the same token, I'm talking about it now, and I'm like, this game is great. Like, I love it, but it is like it has those frustrating parts to it because I'm still trying to learn like how the game works mechanically, especially for combat. Like the different items, you get different weapons that you can use, and they each have different utilities and different ways of working. So you start out with a short sword, which has a good amount of range, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. Then eventually you'll find a knife, which does higher damage, but it's got much shorter range. So you have to wait for enemies to get right up on you before you can slash them. And then right now I just found a club, which does even greater amount of damage, but it has a huge wind-up time. So like you pull out the club and you like lift it up and then bring it down over your head, and then you bring it down on your enemy in front of you. So a lot of it is just timing based, but it's not even just the timing base. It's not even like the timing of the actual move itself. It's the cooldown you have after using each move. So like I've noticed there are times where like I'll hit an enemy and then I'll try to like just spam the attack button again, but it's not letting me just go like stab. It's like stab, and then he has to wind up again and then stab. And in that brief window of time, the enemy can like get in a good shot on me, and these enemies hit hard. Like they I mean, you don't have all that much health to start out the game, and these enemies, like, if you let them get in a couple good hits, like, they'll whittle your health down to, like, halfway in no time at all. And and finding health in this game, like, you have health items, but in all practicality, they don't exist, especially in the early parts of the game. Like, if I kill an enemy or I open up a crate, I might find an apple or a carrot that will heal like maybe 15 health, but those are only every so often. The only other way you can heal yourself is going to a save point and saving, which will restore all your health automatically, but those are spaced out very far apart from each other. So in the meantime, you just have to survive from one room to the other, and I guess that's just a matter of the quote-unquote get good philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So I just kind of have to teach myself, okay, you know, if I'm going to survive all these enemies in all these different areas, getting from one save point to the other, I'm going to have to utilize the dodge mechanic a lot better. I'm going to have to learn how each weapon works, how each enemy attacks, because each enemy has their own attack animation, and they all have their own individual tells to say like, oh, you know, I'm about to attack you, and I'm like, then it attacks me, and I'm like, oh no, you attacked me, and I kind of have to get that timing down for each of the enemies that I come across, and it's, I mean, it's a lot to learn and pick up, but I mean, it's classic Metroidvania type action. You know, it's like standard fare for the genre. It's really fun. The platforming is challenging, but not like it's not overwhelmingly so. A lot of fun challenges where you have to like jump from one end of the room to the other, flip some switches, which will open up a lock on the other side of the room. So it definitely keeps things a little bit varied, where it's not just like, oh, you have to just barrel through this room or try to dodge the enemies as you go through. It's a lot of fun. The animation in this game, like it's a pixel-based 2D side scroller, and it is just gorgeously animated. This game, like the character designs are on point. The backgrounds are really well established and well defined. There's some parallaxing going on, where you can see like the background scrolling at a different pace from the foreground. I've noticed too, like as you go past like candlelit torches, as you run past them, the flames will kind of like flicker a little bit as you go past. So like that's a really nice touch. It's just a lot of polish and detail and love went into this game, and honestly, like for all of its frustrations, I'm really having a good time with it so far. So yeah, this it was a good pickup.
Yeah, a little challenge it's good from time to time to try to sharpen your skills a little bit and give you something to strive for.
Right, because I mean, like you don't want to just make it easy on yourself, because how else are you going to challenge yourself?
It gets to the point where if it's too easy, you're not going to have fun. You're just okay, I'm just crushing through it. What the hell's the point?
Right. A quick aside related to that point. Last night I actually went to a haunted hayride / haunted house that's in the area with one of my coworkers, and we were talking about what if it was like a regular cheesy haunted hayride, but a serial killer was loose in the hayride, and you knew this. Like this was advertised. Hey, it's going to be kind of cheesy and cheap, but there is a serial killer. How would that up the ante a little bit? Would that excite you? And we both agreed. Yeah, that would be kind of exciting. Because I mean, there was a lot of people there. I think the odds would be in our favor to survive, and especially we agreed because there was a guy there that we saw in the line who was ahead of us, and he was on crutches, and we were like,
you're good,
and we were like, oh yeah, we're fine, this is great.
Yeah, you don't have to be the fastest, you just can't be the slowest.
Exactly. And so like, but we actually had this exact same conversation last night. Would the serial killer think it was worth it to go after the guy on crutches? Because he'd be like, yeah, I could take this guy out easily, but am I going to be satisfied with this? Is this going to really challenge me and my skills? So like, I mean, again, like getting back to Chasm, you have to you have to challenge yourself a little bit if you want to feel satisfied.
That's a hell of a connection you drew there, Chris.
I try, man. That's why I'm a professional podcaster.
God. Poor guy on crutches, you could kick him out from him while you're running away.
I mean, I don't have to kick him out from under him.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second. You're gonna kick him out from under him. You didn't eye this guy up just to go, oh, look at the guy on the crutches. Nah, you're looking, I can knock him down.
I don't want to implicate myself in anything.
A vampire or serial killer can get him first.
Yeah, whatever happens to be chasing us.
Oh, God.
Yeah, just gotta slow him down.
That game sounds pretty cool, though.
It is a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm really having a blast with it. This is the year of Metroidvania games where seemingly every game that's coming out is from that genre, and I love those types of games. It's one of my favorite genres, but even so, you think like, oh, it's becoming overloaded. There's too many games of that type nowadays. I still think it stands out. I still think it's one of the better games to come out this year, and I think it's a game that everyone should pick up and play.
That's good. I probably will, actually, after hearing this.
All right. So, aside from that, I really don't have too much else to talk about this week, with the one exception, and that, of course, leads us into the Creepy Arcade.
The Creepy Arcade.
All right, now I'm not gonna lie. I forget. I listened to the podcast, but I forget what the hell game he gave you.
That's fair. It has been a while since we last had an episode. Just because like this month has been busy with people having anniversaries and weddings, and it's just been a lot. So apologies to everyone out there for getting the episodes out on time. It's just everybody's been falling in love and all that nonsense.
It is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Yep. So, the Creepy Arcade from a couple weeks ago, Justin gave me the game The Mummy Demastered to play.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And that game actually came out. It was nowadays kind of a rare movie tie-in video game. Back when it was like the GameCube, PS2 era, movie tie-in games seemed to be a lot more common than they are today. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like you still see them every once in a while, but they were all over the place when we were younger. Nowadays, this one is particularly rare, especially in the sense that this game was developed by Way Forward, and by every measure you want to look at out there, is leaps and bounds better than the movie that the game was based off of.
Now, this is based off of what, the Brendan Fraser one?
No, this is based off of the Tom Cruise one. This was this was the one where Universal wanted to reboot The Mummy, and they wanted to make kind of a horror-themed universe where it would have like the Wolfman and Dracula and the Mummy. And yeah, they wanted to make their own cinematic universe to compete with like the Marvel Avengers universe.
Good luck with that.
The universe was canceled as soon as this movie came out. The movie bombed. I did not see it, but by all accounts, it was absolutely wretched. I think Gerard Butler, if I remember right, was in it, or someone like that, or Russell Crowe. I forget who, but someone like that. And he was playing the role of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah, it was gonna be that. So the audiences hated it, they canceled it, and we're all the better for it. And nothing terrible ever happened again.
Be League of Extraordinary Gentlemen 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo, yeah, there you go.
But, so, for whatever reason, they had a video game tie-in associated with this. Even stranger, they had Way Forward associated with this, the same people behind the Shantae series and, of course, Shovel Knight. And they put out a gem of a game. Once again, this is a Metroidvania type game. It came out several years ago, so it's not really necessarily riding that train from this year. It's just been out for a couple of years now. And I mean, it's pretty good. It's not really scary per se or creepy. It is creepy in the sense that like you're fighting like different zombies and mummies and other assorted undead creatures as you go through the game. But all in all, it's kind of really just it's a Metroidvania where you go through and you're shooting things, you get upgrades, there's platforming, bosses, etc., etc. All in all, yeah, I mean, it's a standard Metroidvania experience. You know, like it's got the 16-bit graphics. It looks great. I mean, it looks better than really it has any right to look. So it's,
well,
I mean,
the Shovel Knight crew, man, they did really good work.
They do. I mean, they. And what's funny is, like, they could have mailed this in. I don't think anyone would have blamed them if they were just like, we'll just slap this together and call it a day.
I'm just going to take that paycheck right there. And
yeah, but no, kudos to them. They poured their hearts into this and made a high-quality game.
Cool.
Yeah, so that is The Mummy Demastered. And now Justin is not here, but Justin will be here next time. So In the meantime, I know he's going to listen to this episode, plus I'll be talking with him a little later.
I'd imagine he will.
I hope so. I would hope that one of our co-hosts is a loyal subscriber as well. But, so I am going to assign him a game to play, even though he is not here to actually hear about it. Now, this game kinda, I guess, bucks the trend a little bit of the, the creepy arcade. It's gonna be a nice, fun, easygoing, relaxing adventure for Justin to play. So, Justin, you're out there listening. The game I am assigning you for your creepy arcade is Pony Island.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, my setup is immediately spoiled by the game's description on Steam, because it says, Pony Island is a suspense puzzle game in disguise. You are in limbo, trapped in a malevolent and malfunctioning arcade machine devised by the devil himself. It is not a game about ponies.
It's got a 10 out of 10 on Steam.
It is a very highly rated game on Steam. Yeah,
97% like this game. That's crazy.
Yeah. The devil detests having his puzzles solved and poor programming exposed. You will need to think outside the box to proceed, and you will be insulted when you do. Yeah, so, in Pony Island, you will, quote, peer behind the rotting curtain of Pony Island to repair its broken code, be forced to play along with the devil's demented game of ponies, and explore the depths of the cryptic software system that runs his game. So yeah, this...
Interesting to say the least.
Yes, so this is not a game about ponies on an island. This is actually a game about peering into the game's soul as the game does likewise to yours.
It's pretty creepy.
Yes, so what better title than for the creepy arcade than a game as creepy as that? So Justin, that is your game, Pony Island. I hope you love it. All right. So, with that out of the way, what do you say we take a real quick break, and when we come back, we will talk about how big these video games have been getting lately. And we are back. You are listening to Press A Repeatedly. Christopher Gold here, joined alongside Butch Caramano. And Butch, a couple weeks ago, I remember reading the report for the first time that Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to require a 105 gigabyte download when you first install the game. That is a lot for a single video game. And it was just a little bit ago, Assassin's Creed Odyssey just recently came out, And a lot of the reviews at the time were talking about how massive the game is. And one review in particular, I forget who it was, they mentioned that the game itself doesn't really get going, quote unquote, until you're about 15 hours into the game, which is a lot, you know?
Yeah, that's a lot of time sunk in just to get into the game moving.
Yeah, so I mean, like, those are two of the more high profile games that are being released this year. And I know, like, this is something that's typical in a lot of RPGs. Like, you know, you'll find games of this length and magnitude in, like, the Fallout series, the Final Fantasy games. They have, like, a lot of bulk to them. The Elder Scrolls, there's just a lot of stuff to see and do in those types of games. But these games are not, they're not RPGs, you know, they're just standard action-adventure type games. So the question, I guess, I want to ask you is, are these games getting too big, or do you feel like you're actually, for the fact that you're paying $60 for this game, do you feel like you're getting good bang for your buck when a game is that massive?
Well, I think it's kind of like it's a more sensitive topic when it comes to, like you said, if it's a game that is designed like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Final Fantasy, your games that are just huge time sinks, but they're made with that in mind, because you're constantly getting your character better, you're constantly, you know, doing things, this, that, and the other. Those games I think it works okay with, but for games like Red Dead, or which we can't really speculate too much because the game's not out yet, it could just be massive because the amount of graphics, the amount of all the files and stuff like that you can't really help. But for a game like for Assassin's Creed to say that it's not even getting started until 15 hours in, that sounds almost like just bloat. Like, why are those first 15 hours like that?
Right.
I don't understand why. Cause it's different if there's substance there, whereas if it's just fluff.
Right.
And for the part of cost is, I think you guys have discussed this before. The cost of the game, it doesn't mean that I want to get 150 hours out of it necessarily. I mean, going back to Mega Man 11 was only $30. I didn't even get 30 hours out of it, and I still think it was worth every cent. It's quality over quantity sometimes.
Right. That's kind of the same way I feel about Spider-Man. Just came out a little over a month ago now on the PS4. That is not a long game. Like, you can kind of go through, and it's kind of it's an adventure, like, action collectathon type game where you have to find, like, different items scattered throughout, and you can beat the whole game. Like, you can 100% it in like 25 hours or so. You can get through, like, the whole story in even shorter amount of time if you're just rushing through to see the story. And I mean, that's a $60 game in and of itself. But the actual gameplay, the quality of the game that you're playing, like, you don't feel like any of that time is wasted. You feel like you're truly getting the most out of your experience because you're enjoying whatever time you're spending with the game. And you're right that you don't want to play a game that just feels like it's bloated, or it just doesn't have a lot of fluff there. Like, I know, and I disagree with this opinion personally, but I know a lot of people out there kind of complain that Breath of the Wild was a game where it felt like you were going places for a long amount of time and there wasn't a whole heck of a lot to actually do on the way from point A to point B. Like, yeah, you could get into, like, some enemy encounters, but there wasn't a whole lot else that was actually going on. It was a lot of empty space. I feel like I don't necessarily agree with that, just because the game always provided something to potentially distract you and say, hey, look over there, or hey, you can go over here and do this or explore there, because that's what the Zelda games are about. It's exploration and kind of finding and creating your own adventure from the experience. It's just the world is the canvas for you to execute your adventure. So I disagree with that assessment there. I feel like that applies better to something like Skyward Sword, for instance, where
Yeah.
it would be like, hey, we need to go here to progress our quest. Oh, oops, this one gear that we need to operate this one machine is on the other side of the world, so we need to go over there, grab that, bring it back. Things like that just feel like they're artificially padding the game's length for no other reason than just to say, hey, this game takes a while to play, and that impresses a lot of reviewers and gamers out there.
Yeah, then you're just making it long for the sake of being long.
Yeah.
It's not long because it's entertaining and you want to do it and you got other stuff to build off of. It's just long because, hey, we want our numbers up a little bit.
Right. Now, I mean, having said that, a lot of the reviews for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like, they do talk about how it does feel like a lot of the game is stretched and padded out, but there's some people out there who are still playing the game. Like, they are hours and hours into this game, like dozens of hours in, and they're saying like how much they're enjoying the experience. Like, they're getting a lot out of the game and they're still having fun with it. So, I mean, as long as there's substance there to get through, like, I guess that's fine. But how much of that is related to actually beating a game versus like it's just there if, say, you want to explore the world a little bit more and it actually provides something to reward your to reward that initiative that you're taking to actually explore the world,
Yeah, no, definitely. And a really good example I can think of this is if you think of like Skyrim. I had probably like 200 hours sunk into Skyrim total, and every one of those hours was fun. It was pointful. I was enjoying what I was doing because it was just me exploring or going to do all these side quests, guild quests, what have you. And it doesn't feel like I'm not just doing it to do it. Whereas I don't know if I told you, I was replaying Dragon Age Inquisition recently because I never actually beat it. So I went through, I beat the whole game, and I damn near 100%ed it, which is, I don't know if you'd ever played it or not, but
that's pretty impressive.
It's obnoxious to 100% this game. Like, by the end of it, I was just like, because I'm thinking in my head BioWare game. I'm like, okay, it's going to be like Mass Effect, and if I don't do all these side quests, something bad's going to happen in the final quest where I'm going to lose like teammates or something's going to happen. Where apparently that wasn't the case, and I even asked Zool beat the game a while ago, and I was asking him like, "Is this worthwhile? Is this pointful to be doing this?" And this is after I already have like 130 hours sunk into it. He's like, "No, there's no reason to do any of those." I was like, "Oh, okay, great," because I was wondering why. I'm like, why am I way overpowered for everything? I was killing everything in the game like it was a joke. And that right there felt like that it was just fluff added. And it was boring stuff. Like, I wasn't having fun doing them. Right. And then after I found that out, I was like, all right, I'm just going to rush through and beat it then.
Yeah. I mean, part of that, too, I guess, is, it's just the mentality a lot of people have where you just kind of want to be able to say, like, oh, I did this just to be able to say, like, I did it. It's like that famous quote by... that guy who climbed Mount Everest. I don't remember his name. I'm just gonna call him Charlie Sheen. It's like when Charlie Sheen first climbed Mount Everest, and he was asked, "Well, why?" And he said, "Because it's there." And it's like, you want to accomplish something, just be able to say, like, yeah, like I 100%ed Dragon Age Origins, which is impressive. It's like, well, why? And it's like, well, just so I can say that I did it. It's like. It's a personal accomplishment for me. And yeah, and I can definitely see that with a lot of these games that just have a lot of content and a lot of areas to explore in them. But when it's just like, I don't know, when it just feels like pointless bloat, like it just feels like they're just throwing in a lot of stuff in there for you, the gamer, to do, and it just doesn't really go anywhere or accomplish anything, especially like if it doesn't really pertain to the main storyline of the game. It's like, I don't know, it just feels really extra and unnecessary to me.
It's a lot of games nowadays they use it as a selling point, I guess, too, is, oh, this game, 40 hours long, 50 hours long, whatever. And if that's the only quality you're getting out of a game is the length it took you to beat it, then you're playing games for the wrong reason, I think.
Yeah.
It's like you should just be enjoying the time. It's the amount of enjoyment you have in the time of the game.
Right. Now, that's not to say that if you're playing like one of those like 80 or 100 plus hour type games and you're not enjoying every second of that, then you're wasting your time. Like if you're enjoying that time, then yeah, by all means,
No,
that's...
I mean, you know me. I've 100%ed Oblivion. I've 100%ed Skyrim. I 100%ed Fallout 4. I 100%ed Fallout 3. I mean, I love my long games. I have no problem with them. I love getting immersed in the world for a long period of time.
God,
and just being like, I know everything about it. Hooray! And
God, man, Fallout 3. I don't know how many hours I sank into Fallout 3, and I don't think I found even half of the things that there are to find in that game.
I mean, you need a good 300-400 hours to get everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, easily.
But it was fun, though, and that's what matters.
Exactly. And right now, we don't really know too much about the upcoming Red Dead Redemption 2, other than... it's going to be a prequel to the first game, and it looks amazing. And you're going to need a 105 gigabyte download to run the thing. Now,
which it's crazy, but
I mean, it looks like it's. I mean, I don't know if that's to kind of help things out on the technical end of the game, or because the game is actually that massive.
I mean, honestly, if you look at most modern games, I mean, that's not too unbelievable. Most games are usually around like 60 gigs nowadays. Or like your Battlefield games and stuff like that, those are like around like 60, 70 gig.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Like, it'll be interesting to see when RDR2 comes out and what it actually entails. I do know a little bit about where that 105 gigabytes is going to be going. I don't know if you heard this news story or not, Butch, but there's actually... People were looking through some of the code, I guess.
Oh, God.
In the game. And this is actually true. This is 100% real. The level of polish that is going on in this game. Your horse, Butch...
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yes, your horse has realistic rendered testicles. Because,
oh, no, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No.
You probably... I was wondering if you had heard of this, but yeah. So the horse's balls will actually, depending on the outside temperature, like if it's in the winter, if it's really cold, if it's in summer, if it's really hot, your horse's balls will... drop or raise depending on the outside temperature.
That's 16 gigs worth of stuff right there. Testicular physics.
Yeah, man, that's what you're paying for. Like the 50.
No, I was gonna say, did you hear that the horse crapping is procedurally generated?
No, I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah, the horse crapping is like a completely like random event. But it has like a certain like reasoning. I don't know how the hell to even explain it. But basically there is a code for when your horse will poop.
There is more polish put in this horse than there,
that's what I mean. Like,
is in most games.
That's at least 20 gig right there, all that.
All that is just tied up right up in the horse.
Just testicle flopping, poop dropping stuff.
Well, I mean, what more do you really want or need in a horse, really?
Priorities.
Yeah. There's going to be some like horrible glitch going on in the game. Like, I mean, there always are in these types of games. Like, there's going to be some sort of like crazy glitch going on. But that horse, that horse is going to run like a dream.
Yep, that testicle is going to be of perfect size for the acclimate weather.
Yeah. Why do you think this game?
No matter what.
Why do you think this game's been delayed for so long? The rest of the game is fine. They just
no. Those balls need to switch size. Damn it! I have a vision.
He like holds up like a ruler to the screen. He's like, "No, they gotta drop more. I need another couple inches."
Oh God, don't we all?
Don't we all? Well, I guess that's as good a point as any to end our conversation. But yeah, In all seriousness, though, I think it was a really good discussion. I think yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of room for thought there. Because, I mean, like, again, you want a game that will give you a lot of enjoyment, but you don't want a game that is just going to stretch things out for the sake of saying it's stretched out, you know?
Yeah, just not time, but time well spent.
Exactly. All right, Butch, thank you so much for being on the show this week and for filling in, especially on
my pleasure.
Yeah, short notice.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. So join us next time when Justin, I'm sure, is going to yell at me for crediting Charlie Sheen with climbing Mount Everest. We're talking about...
It was George Mallory, by the way.
Whatever. George Mallory. All right. So he won't have to yell at me for that since you've already corrected me here. He'll probably yell at me about the horse testicles. I don't know. We'll see.
It's in the game.
It's in the game. All right. So that is going to do it for this week. Remember, Press A repeatedly posts new episodes Tuesdays on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, YouTube, and Spotify. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show or tell your friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you to all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you. You can follow us on our Facebook page or on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Press A Repeatedly. I'm at cgold113, and Butch is nowhere and everywhere all at once.
Woo!
You can email us any questions or comments at parpodcast@gmail.com. That's parpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to check us out on our new website at pressarepeatedly.com. That's all for this week. Chris and Butch signing off. And remember to stab wildly at the dangerous creatures that lurk in the mine. Press A repeatedly.
I'm going down.